The world today, as we know, is a global village. It's a real small place. Most people have traveled abroad and they're aware of the diverse cultures that exist on our planet. And as far as hair transplant abroad is concerned, we have been getting patients, a regular stream of patients from all the corners of the world for the last 15 years. Once you made the decision to travel abroad for your hair transplant, it's a very smooth journey. So why do people travel abroad for a hair transplant? There are three reasons. One, that they might have found a great hair transplant surgeon. Secondly, they want to combine their hair transplant procedure at a good clinic with a short holiday abroad. And lastly, they may want an Indian doctor at a facility with American standards, but at Chinese rates. So these are the reasons why people mostly travel abroad. Even when you factor in the cost of travel and the cost of stay and other miscellaneous charges like visa fee and so many other charges, still a hair transplant abroad at a good clinic on an average costs USD 1875. You can compare this with a huge difference in the cost of a hair transplant if you were to get your hair transplant done in a country like America, where you would have to pay on an average USD 6850, or in UK, say London, or say Paris, if you want to get a hair transplant done, it would cost you 7,100 US dollars. So this is a huge difference, and this difference does not assure quality. There are so many clinics abroad in countries like India and Turkey which offer equally good procedures, if not better. So the very fact that you are watching this video means that you are considering the option of a hair transplant abroad. You may or may not have decided on the surgeon, but you are definitely giving it a thought. So before we proceed to gather the tips, the information that you need to know before you travel abroad for a hair transplant, let us, in short, discuss the three important tips in choosing the right hair transplant surgeon abroad. Remember, you choose a doctor, not a clinic. There are so many franchise clinics without the face of a doctor. And since gullibility is a common human fallacy, we fall for advertisements on social media and various other platforms and go to a center which promises great results, not knowing that there is no face of a doctor. There are so many clinics today. Clinics abound. Every street you'll have a hair transplant clinic anywhere in the world today. So you need to know who is the doctor who will be treating you. After all, it's a medical surgical procedure. On the other hand, a multi-branch clinic might have the face of a doctor, but is it possible for that particular doctor to be at all these 20 locations at one time? No, it is humanly impossible. So you need to delve into this a bit more. You do need to do a little bit more research on who you will be expecting to do your hair transplant on you. You have to ask this from the clinic, that who will be your doctor, who will be doing the procedure, the actual procedure, and what are their qualifications. Because you can only have standardization of a result, even if you have 20 locations all over the world, only if the same doctor and the same team do the procedure. Seeing certain pictures, a set of pictures on the website or on social media cannot reassure you that the same result will translate on your head. Because you never know who was the surgeon who did that procedure. You never know which was the team who did that procedure, which of the several multi-branch clinics this patient went to. So this is the information that you have to gather in your own interest. The field of hair transplant cannot be taken at face value, for you are getting a cosmetic surgery procedure done. If you have a bad hair transplant, it is well nigh impossible to correct it fully. This point you should note. You will never have a second chance at getting a result which you otherwise would have obtained if you had selected a good clinic for your hair transplant procedure. Why? Because the grafts in hair transplant are limited. If the grafts are over-harvested and do not grow in the recipient area, no amount of revision can undo the first bad procedure. The second way people fall in a trap for a hair transplant abroad is to go by the website. Anyone can get a website done. Anyone can load a host of pictures which are floating around on the internet and make it look better than the original website from where the pictures have come. So please make sure that these pictures that you see are original pictures. Today it's very easy to find out which clinic these pictures belong to by just putting these pictures into Google Lens. I hope you know that. So if these pictures do not belong to the clinic, which is showing these before and after pictures on the website, you have to be very wary of that particular clinic. So run these pictures through Google Lens and you will know whether these pictures are actually belonging to the clinic that shows the pictures on their website. There are so many media influencers, YouTube influencers, social media platform influencers about hair transplant, claiming to have been through procedures several times and claiming to be authorities on the subject. Well, you won't believe a doctor who's professionally qualified, but you will believe a patient who has been through several procedures, several failed procedures as they claim, who could not choose a proper hair transplant surgeon for himself. How is that person going to choose a good hair transplant surgeon for you? These social media influencers have a list of doctors that they propose, a list of doctors that they recommend to you for your hair transplant. They have several videos on YouTube and elsewhere. What experience in hair transplant do these people have? But you won't believe a doctor. Do these people who post so many videos on YouTube, will they take the responsibility if you have a bad hair transplant result? But we will not realize that because we are gullible people and we identify with YouTubers because they claim to be just like us, seeking out a hair transplant in this world which is imagined or created to be a dark dungeon where more wrong is done than good. Well, it is not so. If you go to a doctor's clinic, you will be avoiding harm. A doctor is responsible because of firstly his Hippocratic oath, and secondly because of the regulatory bodies in his country, not to do harm. Harm comes in your way when you go to technician clinics, when you get influenced overly so by these paid up advertisements and these paid for YouTubers. So that is tip number 2. The third tip is get comfortable with the doctor, get comfortable with the clinic. Talk to a certain amount of patients who have already had a procedure done at that clinic. See the professionalism of the doctor. Ask for a video chat. See if you are feeling comfortable with the doctor. Does the doctor have time for you? Because this will reflect on your follow-up. A hair transplant is not a one-time procedure. You will continue to bald in a lifetime. And you have to have the support of a doctor, one doctor whom you have been to in the initial procedure, because only he understands your hair loss pattern. He understands various variables of type of donor, of type of scarring, of type of recipient area, your psychology. He understands better than anybody else you can approach on social media or through email. So this is a very vital consideration that you need to keep in mind before planning a hair transplant abroad. Does the clinic that you are traveling to speak English language? Though you may have a translator where you go, the nuances of the language when translated are lost because of cultural differences in communication. Say if I go to Mongolia for my hair transplant and the doctor there only speaks Mongolian, translating Mongolian into English language that you understand, this translation process will lose its nuances. There are cultural differences in language which when translated lose their meaning. So would you like to go to a hair transplant clinic which does not understand English language? Because you will need to follow up for a long period of time with the clinic. So if there is a language barrier, so you can well imagine how frustrated you will feel in the years to come after the procedure has been done at that clinic. So these are the points many people miss out when they are planning a hair transplant abroad. But above all, trust your instinct. Your instinct will never fail you. Let your instinct after you've done your research guide you. You'll never be wrong. So once you have chosen the doctor for your hair transplant procedure abroad, where does one start? Once you are comfortable with the doctor and his team, a client manager is allotted to you with whom you'll be in communication throughout your travel, stay, and even after the hair transplant procedure. So with her or with him, you schedule your hair transplant procedure, and once this date is held for you, you go about applying for a visa. Many countries, including India, ask for a visa before you travel there. In India, there are certain countries which are exempt from applying for visa before traveling, and they get a visa on arrival. There's a list of countries and the list of countries is there in the description box below. There's a link, you can see if your country fulfills that criteria or not. But embassies sometimes ask you to furnish certain information before you travel on a medical visa. There are two types of visas. One is a tourist visa or a visitor's visa, and the second one is a medical visa if you declare that you are coming for a hair transplant procedure. It is not that a person who's already on a holiday, who's already visiting a country and then decides to get a hair transplant done there, he has to convert that visa into medical visa. No, it's not so. Hair transplant, being a day procedure, it doesn't require any admission, can be done on a tourist visa as well, provided you're already in the country. So once you apply for this visa, there will be a letter that we'll be giving you, a letter of invitation for a hair transplant procedure, for which you'll have to provide certain information like your passport number, your date of birth, your date of travel, your place of stay, and your permanent home residence. Keep in mind that while applying for visa, apply for this visa 4 weeks in advance, because many times it so happens that the embassy wants certain more information from you and precious time can be lost, and if you are applying for a visa at the last moment, say 3 days before, you might miss your flight. Travel insurance is a requirement when you go abroad for a hair transplant. This covers your unforeseen circumstances like lost baggage, minor illnesses, if you require certain hospitalization. Most people come with the travel insurance because they are staying in India for a longer period of time. Many patients come, get the hair transplant done, and then go to a short holiday in, say, Goa or in the Himalayas or elsewhere, and they need travel insurance. Some people also like to carry an international driving license. Now, coming to vaccination, in the present COVID times, vaccination is a must for international travel. There are certain vaccinations which are accepted for travel to certain destinations. So you have to check up all this before you plan a hair transplant abroad. And be certain that you have had both the doses of your COVID vaccination before you travel. In fact, some countries ask for a gap of 2 weeks after the second dose of the vaccination. And there are certain other vaccinations which are required, and I have a link below in which you can check in those CDC guidelines what vaccination is required to travel to various parts of the world. Then carry your medical documents along with you. Accommodation. You can book your accommodation yourself. Many patients have certain points that they have earned over a period of time in a particular hotel chain and they would like to avail of that. So you can check up where this hotel is in Chandigarh or wherever you're traveling to. You can ask us and we'll assist you in finding out. And we'll be providing a driver to take you to and fro from the hostel and to the clinic and back. But if you do not have, you can ask us for the list of hotels that we recommend to our patients, which are close by, and we provide a car to pick and drop you to that hotel. The benefit of booking through us is that you do not have to pay in advance. We will hold that room for you. Suppose, just in case you come over and you don't like that hotel, you're free to choose the other hotels as well. Our driver will take you around and show you the hotels where you may like to stay. So this is the advantage of us holding the accommodation for you, and mind you, those hotels are very reasonably priced. So before you travel, it is very important to print copies of your passport, your visa, your medical documents. Why? Because at times at the airport you might not have Wi-Fi to access your email to download the document, or your phone might have run out of charge. So when you are traveling abroad, these contingencies do occur. So you have to have copies, printouts of your travel tickets, your hotel accommodation in your carry-on bag. It is always better to send a copy of these to the clinic where you're going to and to a friend or a colleague or a relative, just in case you misplace your belongings. And very importantly, before starting off, check your date of travel. Many times when you're traveling around midnight, when your flight is around midnight, there could be a huge error in the date of travel. Well, this has happened to me personally. Once I went to the ticket counter and they told me there was probably an error and you booked a flight which left 1 month back. So when you're booking online, it does happen that sometimes you have committed an error in choosing the dates. So cross-check those dates before you travel. Because if you reach the airport and you have the dates wrong, you can well imagine the trepidation, the anxiety that it will give you before your travel for a hair transplant procedure. You also need to check on the airline restrictions on carry-on baggage and check-in baggage. How much of check-in baggage are you allowed to carry, especially in your return journey, because you'll be carrying a whole lot of packages of aftercare material. It is always useful to carry an extra collapsible bag in your check-in baggage, because on your way back from the clinic after the hair transplant, you might have extra luggage, as in the clinic will be giving you certain fluid bottles and a lot of medications you might like to carry for a year supply. When you come to us, you will realize that say medicines that are available in India for aftercare like finasteride, minoxidil and certain other medications are far cheaper as compared to your home country. So you might find that your baggage has exceeded its space and you need one more baggage to take along. You also need to note that while carrying these medicines, especially fluids, after your hair transplant procedure when you go back home, you will not be allowed to carry fluids in excess of 100 ml in your cabin baggage. So the only fluid that you can carry will be your spray bottle, which will be 60 ml in volume. So rest of the medications, it is mandatory upon you to check them in, otherwise you lose them. It is also very important before traveling to charge your phone, to charge your tablet and to carry a travel adapter with you. When you're abroad and when you are making a payment abroad with your credit card say or your debit card, many times unless you have informed the bank about your travel abroad, sometimes the bank thinks that this is a suspicious transaction and blocks your card. So before traveling abroad for your hair transplant, it is mandatory that you call up your bank and inform them that this is the country where I'll be visiting and I'll be making financial transactions through my credit card, and to allow those transactions. This is a very common thing that we have noted in those traveling abroad for a hair transplant. Having a credit card which does not charge extra fee for payments while abroad is a great help. While traveling abroad for a hair transplant, carry as little cash as possible. From the time that you're collected from the airport by our driver, you are with the clinic. If you need small amounts of cash, even if you're not carrying USD 100 with you, the driver can always hand over change to you, which you might need for various expenses. So do not carry excess of cash on your person. You will have a locker available to you in the hotel, and when you are in the clinic, for your documents, for your cash, you will have a locker which will be assigned to you during your stay with us for the procedure. So if you're carrying some valuables like chains or your cards or your passport, it's best to keep it in the assigned locker in the clinic when you're here. And never carry your wallet in your back pocket. Please carry 2 loose button-down shirts on your person. On the day of the procedure, you need to be comfortable and you have to wear shirts which can be opened in the front, because after the procedure when you wear these shirts, we do not want the grafts to be damaged. Another very commonly asked question is, how many days do I take off from work while I travel abroad for a hair transplant procedure? Well, most of the patients who come to us from as far away as United States or say Australia, they take a week off. Unless they're planning a holiday or short vacation in India, then patients have stayed here for 2 months, 3 months as well. But if you're just coming here for a hair transplant, I will suggest that take that particular week off. 1 week off is good enough time for you to get a hair transplant done in India, go back home and join office after this 1 week is over. You'll be wearing a cap, but you'll be presentable. When can you travel back home at the earliest after the procedure? Well, I had a Chinese patient who came to me from Singapore and he wanted to travel back the same night because he wanted to be home for the Chinese New Year. Well, that is an exception because we do not advise this, because grafts are loose and they might bleed, especially because of the cabin pressure. If the procedure has been done very fresh within 12 hours, the grafts are not stable enough. The clot has not yet formed. So in this patient, we had to send our technician with him till the airport, who saw him off, who was there, who was spraying on his grafts, and this patient made it back home. And he was in Singapore for the Chinese New Year. But that is an exception. I will advise that you should never think of traveling back home, especially long distances or even short distances in India, before 36 hours of your procedure. Well, 24 hours is also relatively safe, but I will choose 36 hours for safety. Do not travel back till 36 hours are over after the completion of your hair transplant. When you're away for your hair transplant, you have bills to pay at home. Either convert your bills into auto pay before you leave for India or anywhere else for your hair transplant procedure, or you pay your bills in advance, especially if you're planning a long vacation. So when you're traveling abroad for a hair transplant procedure, and especially when you're planning to stay in India for a short vacation, either pay your bills in advance or you put your bills on auto pay. This will save you a lot of anxiety while you're in India. While in India, we will assign you a number, a client manager, who will manage your all needs, who will manage your itinerary for you, a one-point contact whom you can reach for all queries while you're in India and even after that. And our clinic number is 981-453-1111. You have to add the prefix +91. That is the international dialing code. Or you can mail me on my email account. But for all urgent responses, please call up 981-453-1111. So where do you land when you come into India? What is the port of entry? The port of entry for Chandigarh will be two. One is Delhi, which is most commonly used because most of the flights connect to Delhi. But there are certain flights, especially those which come from Dubai, which directly land in Chandigarh. So you can ask us and we will plan your flight schedule. We can suggest the flights that you can choose, which will cause you minimum waiting period at the airport. But wherever you are, wherever you land in India, our driver will be there to receive you with a smile. So do not worry about that. Once you land in India, you are our responsibility and we will take good care of you. The driver who comes to receive you will be wearing a uniform and we will be sending you a picture of that driver before you travel so that you feel reassured. We accept all forms of payment, all forms of credit card and debit card, except perhaps American Express Bank because there's some problem with it. We do not accept bank checks unless they are guaranteed bank checks. We accept travelers' checks, but due to certain reason, there are restrictions on Canadian travelers' checks in India. We accept online payments. We accept cash. So all this we will discuss with you once you sign up for a hair transplant procedure and before you travel to India for the transplant. Is India safe to travel? India may be a developing country, but it has not had a bloody regime change ever since I've been born. There is very little political turmoil in India. You have protests and you have demonstrations, but mostly they are not violent demonstrations. And Indians as people are very friendly, and if you're on the streets and you need help, you need guidance, you need to find direction, so many people will approach you and give you the right direction. They might have been in the past 15 years since I've had people coming to me from abroad, there might be certain incidents of pickpocketing, but there are no incidents that have been reported of mugging or of violence, physical violence. So that way, when you travel to India, you are perfectly safe. But as is a rule, do not go into dark alleys and invite trouble for yourself. That holds true for traveling anywhere in the world. You will have Wi-Fi access in your hotel room as well as in the clinic, so that you can communicate with your loved ones, your near and dear ones, and also do your online work while you're here with us. We get some people who speak only Spanish or who speak only Arabic and don't know English language. In these patients, no, we do not have any translators available, but in these cases, we can guide them through translation either on phone or on Google Translator. So ours is an English speaking clinic and we are very comfortable with speaking English language. Other languages, we might not be able to support those languages, and that is a shortcoming. But we can assist you online, we can assist you through translators on phone. A very important point to note is, are online assessments, consultations accurate? See, online consultations have their restrictions, their fallacies. When you're consulting with somebody on email or on WhatsApp or other social interaction platforms, it is difficult to find out the state of the donor area, the recipient area. You may discuss at great length on video chat about your objectives, about what you want from the procedure. You might want to talk to the doctor to get comfortable with the team, with the doctor himself. But there are certain things that an online consultation may miss out upon, especially miniaturization in the donor area. So for this, I advise my patients to seek one consultation in their hometown or around with a reputed good hair transplant clinic which is reliable and truthful. If you do not know of any, you can ask me and I will tell you the nearest clinic where you can go and get an assessment done. Mostly, even without these assessments, consultation with me and my assessment is up to 10 to 15% accurate. It becomes more accurate if you send me comb through videos of your donor area, combing from below upwards in good light, preferably natural light outdoors with an HD camera, and also of your recipient area, especially if you have hair in the recipient area. If you have any skin condition, see your dermatologist. If you have a skin condition, say like psoriasis, seborrheic dermatitis, alopecia areata, send me a clear picture. Or best still, seek a local consultation with a dermatologist. If you have diabetes, if you have a heart problem, if you have had an epileptic fit before and you're on medication, you need to take a clearance for your treating doctor before you consider a hair transplant. Those who are diabetics need to have an HbA1c level less than 6. Otherwise, they are not fit for the procedure. Till such time they are hyperglycemic, they should not get a procedure done. Those people who are on blood thinners need to stop the blood thinner for 7 days before the procedure. This will all be done in consultation with your treating physician, your primary physician, your internist in your country. But most of the patients who are considering a hair transplant are young people who range from the age group of 25 to 45. And these are the patients who otherwise are very healthy. And if you are very healthy, you need not get an evaluation done. You are perfectly fine. Even if there is a small medical illness, we can take care of that when you are here. While going back to your country, there will be a lot of medicines that you will get for the first 1 week after the hair transplant, that is the post-operative medicines, and also the hair growth medicines, finasteride, biotin, minoxidil, and some fluid bottles as well, which you will need necessarily to take back home for your aftercare. We will be giving you a supporting letter that these are medical requirements and these medicines should be allowed to carry on your person. We have been giving it for the last 15 years and never ever has entry of these medications been prevented in countries like United States or United Kingdom or Australia. So please remember to pick up the letter from us and keep it on your person when you're carrying these medicines in your check-in baggage. And remember not to carry excess fluids in your check-in baggage. Our patients do not have facial swelling. In fact, most of our patients travel back in 48 to 72 hours. And 85% of my clientele is from abroad, from countries which are far off. And if they were to get facial swelling, the airlines would not allow them to board. We follow a relatively atraumatic hair transplant procedure and there is no swelling unless of course you lie down on your face in the first 2 days. Then because of gravity you're going to get swelling in the eyes. But if you are upright, if you do not inordinately bend forwards, you will have no swelling in our procedure on the face. The dressing, the bandages will be off after 24 hours. And when you board your flight, you look completely normal except for the cap or the bandana that you're wearing. Well, though drivers and certain bellboys do accept a small tip, but it is not much. It is not so much as in the Western world. In India, if you tip a driver or you tip a bellboy 50 rupees, which is about $0.25, and if you tip a driver 100 rupees, which is about £1, they will be more than happy. But I will advise you that you tip the drivers not every time that he comes and picks you up, but at the end of your stay in Chandigarh. And no tips more than 500 Indian rupees is ever expected by the driver or anybody else who's serving you. But while you're eating in a restaurant, while you're going to a fine dine restaurant, they expect a tip in most cases of 10% of the total amount. In India, make sure that you tip half the amount before the meal, and you will see the difference in service because not many people in India pay tips. So when you're traveling in India, though tips are expected, they are not mandatory. Our staff is on full-time employment, they are getting a salary and they do not live on tips, though they do expect tips and tips do them no harm. So that is about tipping in India. Tipping culture varies from country to country. Marijuana is not legal in India. So please do not carry any marijuana while you're traveling to India. There is no problem in getting a LASIK procedure done or dental treatment done while you're here. Many people while they're traveling want to combine a hair transplant procedure with other small procedures. But you have to make sure that none of these procedures should be done 1 week after the hair transplant. So plan a gap of 1 week between procedures and you'll be fine. Why? Because when hair transplant procedure is done, the grafts are little fragile for up to a week. In both dental treatment and in eye procedures, handling of the head is very common and we do not want the grafts to be disrupted. Therefore, a gap of 1 week after the hair transplant procedure is essential before you go for an eye procedure or a dental treatment. Please do not shave your head, beard or chest if we are going to harvest grafts from these locations before you come to us. Yes, if your beard grafts are being harvested, I will advise that you shave your beard, you shave your chest exactly 48 hours before your hair transplant is scheduled, because it allows us to harvest good quality grafts which grow in this matter of 48 hours. But as far as the scalp is concerned, do not trim and do not shave your scalp before coming for the procedure, because all the landmarks in which we assess the hairline, in which we assess the placement of the grafts, the direction of the hair that is to be implanted is lost. Once these bearings are lost, we do not really know how to plan a hairline and how to plan the coverage. So this is very important to note, that do not shave your scalp before you come to us for a hair transplant procedure. As far as the beard and chest, or sometimes there are other body harvest sites, as far as these are concerned, you need to shave them at least 2 days before. Do not shave your beard the day before the procedure. Shaving of the beard is required to know the direction of the hair and also for anagen selection. Selection of the most robust grafts. So if we do not shave the beard 48 hours in advance, all the hair look the same. If we shave the beard 48 hours before, only the robust hair will grow up. The other hair which are going into telogen phase take longer time to grow. So therefore, shaving the beard 48 hours before helps us greatly in identifying the anagen nature of the grafts that we are harvesting. Grafts harvested may be less, but they will be of better quality than otherwise they would have been. All the bandages, the dressings of the surgery, the telltale signs of surgery will be removed the next day when you come to the clinic. The same day that we'll be giving you instructions for follow-up, explaining you how to do the care for the next 2 weeks in particular and in general for the next 6 months. That is the time all the dressings will come off. There will be no more telltale signs of a hair transplant. You will have to remove the cap or the bandana at the airport for anybody to know that you've got a procedure done. So it is very rare that bandages persist after 24 hours. But even if we have given you a bandage and you need to travel back home, there is an accompanying fitness certificate to fly. In the last 15 years that I've been doing surgery on patients who've been traveling from far distances, not only in India, but far away from as far as United States and Australia, there has been no case in which my patient has been denied entry into an airport or he has been denied boarding. So you absolutely look normal. You have a cap on or a bandana on and nobody can tell that you got a procedure done unless you tell them. Yes, most people wish to take a small vacation while they're here in India, and the commonest place they head to is Goa. The sandy beaches of Goa are very inviting and that's a very pleasant beach resort in India, and we have a direct flight from Chandigarh to Goa. It's a 2-hour flight and you will enjoy your stay there. The only thing to note is that please do not remove your cap or your bandana while in the sun. It is always better to avoid the sun from 10 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the evening because it's very harsh, and never take your cap off or your bandana off because ultraviolet A rays desiccate the grafts, not only desiccate the grafts but also destroy the stem cells in the superficial part of the graft. So this is the reason we keep our head covered for the first 3 weeks after a hair transplant. Also, while at the beach, please do not engage in water sports. Any activity that may cause hurt, that may cause trauma to the recipient area is to be avoided. After a hair transplant is over, you are prohibited from swimming either in the sea or in the pool for 3 weeks post-procedure. So please note that. There are many other options also where you can recover and take a short vacation. One is to go to our villa. Our villa is about 2-hour drive, or sometimes it's 1.5 hour. 1.5 hour drive from Chandigarh. It is in the sub-Himalayas, the Himalayan belt. Kasauli is a quaint little old British town which was built by the British as a cantonment in the mid-19th century. If you are interested in the history of the British Empire, Kasauli is the right place to be in. There are many old-time buildings, the upper mall and the lower mall, old British houses, and there is a town called Dakshai which had one of the most terrifying cellular jails, and there's a lot of history attached to Dakshai town. And then of course 2 hours away is Shimla, the summer capital of the British when they were in India. So this is a great place to be in, the town Kasauli where we have our villa, and there is a full-time maid. You will not have any problem in cooking. There's a fully functional kitchen and cleaning also will be done. You just have to pay a bare minimum amount, and that amount is just for the maintenance of the villa. We do not profit from your convalescence at all. You will be well looked after in Kasauli, and people have stayed there for up to a week or even 1 month. And the good news is that drop off and pick up from Kasauli to the clinic is complimentary. But if you do not choose to go out, if you want to stay on in Chandigarh, there are many places you can visit in Chandigarh as well, and you can spend your time convalescing, recovering from your hair transplant in Chandigarh itself. And whenever you wish to come to the clinic, though the requirement is very minimal, but if you feel like coming to the clinic, you're most welcome to come to the clinic as many times as you are in India. So if you are on finasteride and minoxidil, you need to discuss this with me, when to stop the medicine, or if you're planning a hair transplant in the near future, should you continue the medicine or not? In my clinic, since we practice the antigen selection of grafts at the time of harvest, I advise my patients to go off finasteride 1 month before the procedure so that I can identify the good quality robust grafts which will grow better, which will give better density than other grafts which are in catagen phase, grafts going into telogen phase. Minoxidil, if you're using, minoxidil increases the vascularity of the skin. So if you do not stop minoxidil 7 to 10 days before the procedure, there could be excessive bleeding. Though we can control the bleeding, but it inordinately increases the operative time. Also, please do not scratch your scalp. Many people have a habit of scratching their scalp when they're thinking or even otherwise, because your nail injury can cause infection. So please be very careful that 1 week before the hair transplant, do not scratch your scalp. We do not want any infection at the time of the procedure. Make sure you do not have any pimples, any pus points, any acne that is active in either the donor area or the recipient area at the time of the procedure. Well, if you have, you should discuss it with me, and you may need some treatment before you are fit to travel for a hair transplant in India. If you are on aspirin, if you are on Tylenol, if you are on ibuprofen, any medicine that increases the bleeding time, please stop it. If you are on blood thinners for various cardiac ailments, you will need to stop the blood thinner 7 days before the procedure in consultation with your treating doctor. You will need to get an INR test done. Please abstain from taking alcohol the night before the procedure. Also, consumption of recreational drugs the night before the procedure is prohibited. Please do not take herbs like ginkgo and ginseng 1 week before the procedure. Excessive herb consumption increases the bleeding time, and that we do not want in a surgical procedure. Another important tip is that you should bring a neck pillow which will snugly fit your neck, especially if your crown is being transplanted, because a neck pillow is used to keep your crown off the pillow and the sheets. Ladies, when they come for the procedure, should note that they should remove all nail color, nail polish, because the pulse oximeter, the probe for monitoring the patient, is placed on the fingernails. On the day of the procedure, please wear shoes which do not have laces. Slip-on shoes are the best, because after the procedure we do not want you to inordinately bend forward to tie your laces. They should be slip-ons that comfortably, while sitting in a chair, you should be able to slip your feet into your footwear. So thank you for watching. If you want to know the detail of the procedure on the day of the surgery, the step-by-step timeline of how the day will progress on the day of your procedure, I have given a link below to a video that I made last year, and that you will find very helpful. And it will also prepare you and make you confident that as you step out of your comfort zone in your country to come to India for a hair transplant, or for that matter go anywhere abroad for a hair transplant procedure, that you are in safe hands. So as far as India or traveling to my clinic is concerned, please rest assured we will take good care of you and you will not regret coming to my clinic in India. Do not get anxious, we will provide you the best service and a comfortable stay when you are here with us. Thank you for watching again, and may God bless you.